So last I saw this, it was natural finish, Takamine,
black pick guard,
and busted.
That couldn't be played with.
Dude, oh my god. Oh my god. Chris.
Isn't it great?
Oh my god.
And the burst is on the back, sides, and the neck. It's subtle. You'll see that there's a slight burst around here.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh yeah, we upgraded the tuning machines obviously as well.
This is dumb. Have you ever wondered what might happen if you took a pair of world-class luthiers and a cheap $300 busted guitar and let them loose on it? Well, that's exactly what Chris and Matt from Driftwood Guitars have done over the last 6 months. This guitar is, or was, a 1980 Takamine lawsuit era that I bought for $300 a few years ago from my local music go-round. And back in March of this year, I traveled down to Driftwood in Florida, and the three of us hatched kind of a dumb but interesting plan. What if you spared no expense in terms of time and money and tried to modify an acoustic guitar? I mean, completely stripping the guitar down to bare wood, revoicing the top. So I left my busted old Takamine with them back in March, and now 6 months later, we have this. Now there's a lot more going on here than just a fresh new paint job, and to see every detail of the build process, Chris and Matt made an incredible video over on the Driftwood Guitars YouTube channel, which I will have linked down below and up here in the card. Absolutely go watch it, it's incredible. But before we hear this guitar in detail, let's travel back in time 6 months to Driftwood Guitars to see how this idea started. Yeah, you want a piece of wood?
Brazilian right there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
For you, a gift for you.
That's so nice.
Wow.
A nice
What
piece
manners.
of tone wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's a chunk of Brazilian. You want that?
Yeah. I brought you something.
Yeah, dude. I have seen this on the interwebs, and you've told me about it many a time.
This guitar needs a neck reset, according to you.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I looked at the serial number, 1980, I think.
Okay.
Takamine, lawsuit era. Martin, even though I guess technically there never was a lawsuit.
It was a cease and desist, but this doesn't roll off the tongue as good as a lawsuit. You know, cease and desist Takamine.
Yeah, it's a C&D Takamine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, immediately, because it's weird, because it actually is set up really nicely and dialed, but then you go down here like, ah! There's zero saddle left. It's essentially just string going poof straight
Right
into the
over
bridge pins.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get it over on the workbench over here. We'll take a look at it and assess the situation for said reset. And what you want is for that straight edge to just clear the top of the bridge, if it's correct. You can see we're bumping into it.
Yeah, that's not correct.
It's not correct. That's telling me that that neck angle is like this. But the other thing I kind of like noticed, like just looking at it right out of the box, is you've got actually a cracked bridge. This is something that's actually pretty common in older guitars. You'll have a split that just kind of runs between all your bridge pins. It can happen from a lot of different reasons. Typically it's dryness, you know, lack of humidity. That's pretty easily fixable, but you wouldn't want to do the neck reset without fixing the bridge as well. So that's like, okay, well this is more than a neck reset.
Okay, so let's pause here, because I paid $300 for this guitar.
Okay.
Just a neck reset on this guitar would cost what, roughly?
Typically for me, if it's like, hey, I've got a guitar, I need a neck reset on it, I'll start at $750. $750 to $1,000 is kind of where we are with neck resets, and we just previously did a video where we kind of explained, like, you're not always paying for your neck reset, you're paying for the next guy's reset too, because sometimes they're super easy and sometimes they're incredibly difficult. Doing a little bit of research about this before you brought it by, we actually learned that these Taks, the necks are epoxied on. Which means that the neck reset is more difficult. But what's cool about these guitars is and you can say this out loud on the internet, for all intents and purposes, it's a Martin D28. I mean, it's essentially what it is.
Made in Japan.
It's a made in Japan D28. With that said, these guitars don't sound as good as the Martins out of the box. So, like, if you wanted to compete with something like that, there's meat on the bone that you really could hot rod this up essentially and turn it into something that's more of a banjo killer style guitar.
Wait, so to be clear here, you're talking about modding an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, people don't ever do it. People don't ever think of it. Something I tell folks all the time with acoustics is that the vast majority of factory guitars are overbuilt. And because they're overbuilt, the only thing that's separating them from being a great guitar is removing that overbuiltness. In a perfect world, I would be like taking this finish off and like sanding the top and making it thinner, really trying to get the flexibility and the sound of this wood top to be the way that I want. And then kind of like the big thing that I've not really seen many people do would be to get some hand planes, break my wrist right around here, and then get in here and start shaving some braces away. And you really could, in a perfect world, get this guitar to really open up sonically, spray it with a different finish, see what it kind of sounds like. And I think that they would be like indistinguishable, if not better than the vast majority of like D28s that you have. You can't say that.
You can't say that.
The issue is, it's like, am I going to spend, a couple $1,000s on a $300 guitar?
So yeah, it's not worth it.
But
it'd be kind of fun to try, wouldn't it?
It'd be kind of fun to try, yeah.
I mean, you think you could actually like do everything you're saying, like break this thing down, basically revoice it, and we have a $300 Martin killer?
Essentially, yeah. I really do. I think we're men of the internet. Like, why not? New tuning machines, bone nut, bone saddle, releveling the fingerboard, all new frets, pulling the neck off, doing the neck reset, stripping all of the finish off of it, revoicing the entire top as if it was a hand-built guitar as opposed to being a factory-built guitar. A Brazilian rosewood bridge with a bone saddle and unslotted bridge pins, and Bob's your uncle.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's it. Would you want to do that? Like, that's a ton of work.
Normally I would tell you to get out of my driveway.
Yeah.
But the curiosity in me would love to do it. And the timing is good in our shop right now where I could probably squeeze this in and make it happen. But we can. We can, and therefore we should.
This is the taking a Geo and putting an LS swap in it, kind of,
And a fun fact, I put a turbocharger on a 3-cylinder Geo Metro one time, so I'm kind of the perfect.
Yeah, you're already stupid enough to try this. That's what you're saying.
There's a great guitar inside every overbuilt guitar. Michelangelo once said. You just have to sculpt it out of it.
So I guess I'll just leave it with you, and you'll just
we'll do it.
Just
we'll
do
make
it.
And yeah, man, we'll shoot video and try to like capture the whole process. I think it would be really, really cool. I didn't take the top off or anything, but I did revoice it as best I could through the sound hole.
So this is modern US binding here, right? That's not
No, that's OG binding. That's the original binding.
No way.
Yeah. I just all it was sanded down, laminate back and sides, so I could barely touch sanding on the back and sides. But the top was thinned out and then revoiced as best I could through the sound hole. Brand new Brazilian fingerboard and stainless frets, Brazilian bridge.
The gold fret on the 12?
The gold fret on 12.
I love that. It's kind of like a gold cap.
Exactly.
Did the neck stay on or come off?
Came off. Now it's a full bolt-on conversion. Because it was held on.
Oh, that's right.
It was held on with 4 wooden dowels.
Yeah,
We just had to we had to pull the fingerboard off and then run a Japanese saw like between that slot to get the dowels out of it.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
But now the neck will come off for a neck reset.
yeah.
found?
Yeah, it's whatever comes time. It's gonna be
Okay,
that
so
way. I'm
it's
not gonna
now
be like, we're
August.
We're not
It is. So yeah, it's now been what? So
yeah,
March,
this is-
April, May, June, July. It's been 5 months. 5 months since we Rhett dropped the
so
guitar
if
off.
you look down, it'll look down, and it will lag behind you
Let's
because
just wait
it's a
till
gimbal.
it's on for a second.
Things are ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It sounds so. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to remember 5.5 months ago what it sounded like.
Totally.
But what I remember it being was very narrow and very small.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, well, that's what, and that's what happens, I think, when you're revoicing a guitar. Because obviously, out of all the things we did, the biggest change were 2 things. The biggest change is the thinning of the top, of revoicing of the braces. I actually wasn't able to revoice it as much as I'd like to, just because it's having to go through the sound hole.
Yeah.
That, along with all of the work that's been done to the bridge, making that much more efficient. But what you get with that is, that's what I was saying. Like, an overbuilt guitar is just removing that overbuiltness away from being like a great sounding guitar, and so you're just increasing that bandwidth of all of the frequencies, and then the sustain, obviously, too, is super increased.
There's just more coming out of it.
And it's really cool because you don't ever get a chance to, you hear one good guitar and one crappy sounding guitar, and you're like, oh, that one sounds better because of this. But to take the exact guitar and only remove things away from it,
That's
to
the other part.
reveal the thing that was there the whole time.
Other than this,
Other than that, everything else is
you just took stuff
things
away.
Fretboard and all that stuff, sure, maybe adds something to the sound, but mostly, like I said, removing material from the soundboard, removing material from the X braces and the tone bars. That's actually a larger bridge than the original one. Much wider saddle, so we get more string contact. Much better break angle across there with the unslotted pins. So those to me are the biggest ones. I think a lot of the volume and the sustain comes from the bridge.
That makes sense because this is what's transferring the string energy into the top.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of crazy how much of a difference. I can't wait to see the video, honestly, because I'll get to finally properly hear an A and a B, and I know it'll be the same thing for you too when you go to put it all together. Because I know that it didn't sound this good.
No, I can tell you. Like. So I had the guitar home for a few weeks and I've been playing it pretty much every day, and I'm having trouble putting into words the difference here. What Chris and Matt have done here, I think, is truly remarkable. Before, this guitar sounded good for the money that I spent on it, $300. And it sounded better when I would tune it down a whole step. I said that in the original video, but when it was in standard, it just felt a little choked. Now that is completely different. The guitar has opened up. There's way more sustain. The guitar is more resonant. It's louder, and the bandwidth has widened. There's lower lows and higher highs than there was ever before with this guitar. And now knowing what they did, having watched their video, it completely makes sense. Watching them take that material off the top and revoicing the braces on the inside of the guitar, it does feel that way. The top feels livelier. It like responds faster. It's louder. And now it really does, I think, go toe to toe with guitars that are in that $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 price range, like the D18 here. Now it's funny, initially we thought that this was like a D28 because it has the rosewood back and sides, but you can see in Chris and Matt's video that they find out that it's actually veneer, and the wood on the back and sides is mahogany like a D18. So really this is kind of just a D18 dressed up in a D28 sort of disguise, which makes this comparison all the more interesting. So when you play these two guitars back to back in the room, there's two main things that pop out to me. The Martin is much louder and has way more low end than the Takamine does, which means when you're sitting in the room, your immediate reaction is to say, oh, well, the Martin sounds better, because we perceive louder as better. But the more you play the two guitars and pay attention to the details, that difference is actually not that wide. So while the Martin is louder and has more low end than the Takamine is much more balanced and more focused sounding. It has a sweeter mid-range, a more balanced mid-range. When you're playing chords on the Takamine, you hear all 6 strings sort of ringing together at the same level. Whereas to my ear, the D18 is a little bit more mid-scooped, and it is sort of, it leans more towards that low-end response. Now, when you put the two guitars under a microphone, the Takamine smokes the Martin, in my opinion. See, for me, when I'm recording an acoustic guitar, I don't want too much of anything. I don't want too much low end or too much high end or too much volume. I want a balanced, even response. And that's exactly what the Takamine is giving me now. See, when I've recorded the D18 before, I end up chopping out most of the low end that this guitar produces to get it to fit into a mix. And the Takamine sort of comes out of the box pre-mixed, if that makes sense. Like, because it's so balanced overall, you don't have to rely on a lot of high pass filtering or EQ to get it to do what you want it to do, depending on the sound that you're going for. Also, the fact that it has a more balanced and sweeter mid-range means that I think it would sit better in most mixes compared to this particular D18. But the main point that I want to make here is, before, these two guitars were not in the same category. They weren't even in the same league or anything. And now that's no longer the case. The Takamine, both in the room and under a microphone, truly does sound like it's in the same weight class as the Martin D28, that $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 price range. And so the preference of one over the other really is subjective. It comes down to, what do you want to hear out of an acoustic guitar? The fact that Chris and Matt were able to take this cheap, beat up, old acoustic that seemingly had had a pretty rough life, and not just give it new life, but improve it and get it to a place where it is going toe to toe with guitars that cost literally 10 times or more what I spent on it, is mind-blowing. But should you do this? Should you find a cheap acoustic guitar and then hire a luthier to go in and completely rebuild it in hopes that you end up with a product like this? No, this is dumb. This is a really, really dumb thing to do. If you haven't done so, you need to go watch their video on the whole process. And there they go in depth into the time and the money spent on this project, both in parts and labor. And the cost comes to around $4,500. That includes the $300 that I spent on the guitar. So essentially, this is more expensive than this particular D18, and is about the same money as you would spend on a lot of, like, you know, flagship Martin or Gibson or Taylor guitars. Now, again, I do think that the end result justifies that. Like, yeah, this now to me does sound like a $4,000 or $5,000 acoustic guitar, which is incredible. But should you do this? No, it just doesn't make sense. Don't don't do this. This is dumb. If I ever did decide to sell this guitar, there's no way I would ever get anywhere close to the money spent on this thing, but I'm not going to sell it. To me, the real value of this guitar is in the fact that Chris and Matt did it. Not only because they are truly some of the best at what they do, but the fact that they are friends of mine. I've known Chris since I was like 17 or 18 years old, and I've known Matt for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I truly love these guys. I have the utmost respect for who they are as craftsmen and creators, but even more so as people. They are kind, hilarious, humble, down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth dudes that are just really, really good at what they do. Not just building guitars, but making YouTube videos. So yeah, that's the real value here for me. My friends did this, and this guitar truly is one of a kind. I can almost guarantee that there's not another lawsuit-era Takamine that someone spent close to $5,000 and 50+ hours of work to overhaul. So to wrap this up, I really think you should go watch the Driftwood video on the process of making this guitar what it now is. There you're going to get a very clear picture of how hard this was to do for these guys. And again, they're pros. They know what they're doing. And I think this guitar has a pretty interesting life ahead of it. I do plan on taking it out when the opportunity does come along to take it out and gig and potentially tour with it again. And I want people to play it. I want this guitar to have a full life. It deserves it. So once again, thank you to Chris and Matt. Nothing I can do for them will be a worthy repayment of their time and sweat and tears probably that they put into this guitar. But thank you. It's truly special. I feel really, really lucky to have had the opportunity to be able to do this with those guys. And I hope you enjoyed my part of the story. Now go watch their part of the story. Video's linked down below, up here in the card as well. And go subscribe to their channel. They have a lot of really interesting, fun, new stuff coming up over there on Driftwood Guitars. And I'll be watching. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Rhett Shull, and I will catch you on the next one.